Hello and a warm welcome back to the Pitch Side podcast. I'm your host, the HOD of the PSP. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version of this podcast and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Enable notifications to receive all the updates from these episodes of the podcast and all content on the channel. Of course, listen to this on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform. And follow us on social media. I'm at Side PSP on Twitter, Pitch Side Pod on Instagram. Join us here for episode 136. And you're welcome. First of all, let's start by giving our sincere congratulations to Manchester City, of course, winning the EFL Cup, the Carabao Cup, for the fourth time in a row after defeating Tottenham Hotspur 1-0 in a great game, by the way. It was different, I think, to what we usually see in those Carabao Cup finals. I mean, usually there are uninteresting affairs, realistically speaking. Man City been involved in them now for the fourth time in a row. The victory came after a goal from Aymeric Laporte in the 76th minute. I mean, Man City were really heading towards penalties. I mean, it almost looked like it was a hard game for Man City, despite mostly their domination. Tottenham created a couple of opportunities, really, but Man City were all danger all the time. They created a lot of chances. Tottenham created a couple of opportunities as well that they could have dealt with better decision making, but definitely the nod belonged to Aymeric Laporte, scoring from the set piece, Kevin De Bruyne's cross, and Aymeric Laporte's header to make it 1-0 for Man City. It is a minimalistic victory with the minimum of effort, not a lot of goals, not goals galore for Man City, but definitely the focus is not on the Carabao Cup Final, is on the match against PSG on Wednesday. Definitely a bigger game and a bigger fish to fry. And imagine what we would have talking about if they lost the Carabao Cup Final to Tottenham. We've been talking about probably a collapsing season, maybe. Going from a quadruple to, a treble. It's different, but that treble itself would be different with the Champions League being involved. Unlike the FA Cup, they already achieved the local treble. Now they want to achieve something that only Man United could have achieved, but that was with a different title. They achieved it with the League, the FA Cup, and the Champions League, and that was back in 1999. Man City, they need to focus now, of course, on the game against PSG, turning a corner on the local season, really, with the Premier League wrapped and pretty much intact at the moment for them. So they need to just look forward to their game against PSG in the Champions League, and hopefully we're going to be having a delve preview of that tomorrow. On the podcast episode reviewing the Champions League games. Definitely we're going to be seeing that. Congratulations again to Man City on winning the fourth FA Cup or EFL Cup, in a row. We can't start talking about the leagues now that we turn the corner from the EFL Cup Final without talking about Spain, about the craziest title race of the season, definitely, in Laliga, and it's now involving a fourth team at the moment, particularly after the results of yesterday. Certainly that is a really big, sort of talking point to speak about. All the games are intrinked, really, to each other, and after Real Madrid dropped points on Saturday to Real Betis, Barcelona and Sevilla didn't do the same. They were victorious in their own matches. Barcelona defeated Villareal 2-1. They turned things around. They started in a rough manner, really, in the game. Barcelona, they started the first 26 to 30 minutes almost on the wrong foot, giving a couple of mistakes away, including the goal, of course, from Samuel Chukwueze. I mean, all credit to him, by the way. For the composure he has in front of goal. He's one of the best players in La Liga, low key, one of the best players really in La Liga. People probably do not focus on him a lot because Villareal are not involved in the Liga, the title scrap or anything like that, but they are still in the Europa League. They could be in the final. They could win that competition, realistically speaking. I rate them to win that competition. So I really think he's low-key one of the best players in La Liga. Griezmann, although responded to those two goals in successive fashion, quick fashion, inside 7 minutes of each other. 2 goals for Barcelona, meaning that Barcelona now are only 2 points behind Atletico Madrid with 1 game in hand. Of course, that is quite the achievement for them, really, transition this season again. I mean, in a transitional season, quote unquote, they could end up winning a local double with the cup already secured. They could win the league, which is going to be quite the transitional season from the start and where they were and where people were thinking they will be in this time of the season, to the point where we can see them now having more chance of winning the league than Atletico Madrid, who are top of the table themselves, which is, looks really as a very just assessment from what is the situation right now in La Liga. Sevilla joined the race officially now there as well, so not just Barcelona now involved. It's Sevilla joining the race as well after defeating Granada 2-1. Granada had an earlier disallowed goal right before Ivan Rakitic scored from the penalty spot. I mean, Sevilla scoring from the penalty spot, quite a different story. I mean, nice for a change that they scored a penalty after they've been missing those for a while. Lucas Ocampos managed to make it 2-0 early on in the second half, and Soldado's penalty in the 90th minute was only a consolation. But the most important thing is Sevilla now 3 points behind Atletico Madrid, and this could be a crazy lot of race till the end. This is going to be a 4-horse starter race with 5 fixtures left in the Liga title. It definitely will be one hell of a crazy ride, and the 35th week, of course, of action is definitely the most important at the moment, where Real Madrid hosting Sevilla and Barcelona going to be hosting Atletico Madrid at the Camp Nou. Celta Vigo defeated Osasuna 2-1 before the big game, of course, Atletico Bilbao versus Atletico Madrid, and I think all the Barcelona fans, the Real Madrid fans, and the Sevilla fans were really looking up for this game and looking for a result that would help their teams stay in the title race, and Athletic Bilbao delivered. They gave them the result that they needed. Athletic Bilbao defeated Atletico Madrid 2-1, and, this was such a weird game for Atletico Madrid. They started badly, which is, something they're not exactly unusual to. Then they try to save themselves. They spend the next 50 to 70 minutes really after the goal that they conceded from Alex Berenguer, a goal that is, again, unlike Atleti, because there was too much space in the defence for Atletico Madrid to play the counter-attacking style. And, Athletic Bilbao, whenever they broke on the counter, they looked very, very dangerous, and they almost scored on each of the occasions they were one-on-one with Jan Oblak. Then, of course, Diego Simeone had to bring up his sort of, big guns, so to speak. Luis Suarez, Thomas Lemar, Joao Felix, brought him on, and then Hermoso later on. And all of that, and the goal scorer was Stefan Savic, a centre-half that he started with. I mean, it was weird for Atletico Madrid not finding solutions like that, and despite having more of the possession, more of the shots and the attempts, but they weren't as dangerous. I mean, they were as dangerous as Athletic Bilbao were with more possession than them. I mean, just trying to make sense of it. Diego Simeone, I think, lost the plot, and this loss only translates the feeling that Atletico Madrid are on too much pressure at the moment, and they're really pressured too much that they can't they can't focus, they can't really keep their composure really well. Irai Martinez scored in the 86th minute late on in the game to make it 2-1 for Athletic Bilbao, and I think the time of the goal was so crucial. Atletico Madrid couldn't really play their normal flow after that, so it was quite the situation from Atletico Madrid. I mean, this is not, and I said it in the preview of the weekend on Friday, I said this was not the time for errors for Atletico Madrid or for the other teams, but certainly Atletico Madrid slipped and provided the error that Sevilla needed, Barcelona needed, and Real Madrid needed to give them the course of the title now. And as I mentioned, round 35 is going to be big time, on when it happens. Of course, Real Madrid are going to be hosting Sevilla. That's going to be on the 9th of May. On the 8th of May, it will be Barcelona versus Atletico Madrid. I mean, I wish that those two matches were on one day, so that the pressure would be double and the intensity and the excitement would be amazing, but they're not. So, again, this is a far cry from what we saw early on in the season for Atletico Madrid. I mean, the season certainly went in reverse for both sides. Barcelona went to improve over the course of the season, while Atletico Madrid went on to just be sloppier and sloppier, giving away results and losing points where they didn't need to, and now, completely losing the plot. And I think if they don't win the title, I don't think it will be a surprise that we say that's it for Simeone. It doesn't work anymore. It will not work anymore for Simeone if he doesn't win the title with Barcelona, with Atletico Madrid this season, despite all of the advantages he had early on in the campaign. The table of La Liga, of course, stays like that. Of course, Eibar face Real Sociedad. That is on Monday, still to come. In La Liga, it will be Eibar versus Real Sociedad. For the table is Atletico Madrid 73 points, 71 points for both Real Madrid and Barcelona. Barcelona with an asterisk, they still have a game in hand against Granada. Sevilla with 70 points at 4th, and they still very much involved in the title race. Real Sociedad 50 with Betis. I mean, what a gap it is between the 4th and the 5th, 20 points completely. Of course, Villareal at 7th with 49 points, Granada 42, Celta Vigo 41, 41 for Athletic Bilbao, 40 for Osasuna, 38 for Levante, 37 for Cadiz, 36 for Valencia, 34 for Getafe, 31 for Alaves, Elche with 30, 29 for Valladolid, 27 for Huesca, and Eibar with 23 points at the bottom. Before turning attention to the Serie A, quick results, of course, in the Bundesliga. 2 matches were played yesterday in the Bundesliga. It was Leipzig defeating Stuttgart 2-0 to, of course, to reduce the deficit behind Bayern Munich, realistically speaking. But, of course, I don't really see anything changing in the next 3 rounds or so that will allow Leipzig to snatch the title, maybe. They will just get closer and closer, and probably that's about it. While Borussia Mönchengladbach defeated Arminia Bielefeld 5-0, completely thrashing them, at least for a feel-good win. At the moment, of course, Leipzig was 7 points behind Bayern Munich now, leading into the next fixture, and Borussia Mönchengladbach, with these 3 points, of course, go up to 7th with 46 points. They might make a late charge for a European spot. I don't really see it happening that much anyway. Going on to Serie A, of course, and the top 4 battle in there is really intensifying at the moment, and certainly yesterday's result didn't help it. They really intensified the battle even more, but of course we couldn't have those matches without having a relegation sort of scrap. Benevento lost 2-4 to Udinese at home. It was a really terrific game, by the way, somehow, for relegation, battlers. And then, of course, we had the big guns playing. Fiorentina faced Juventus and forced them into a draw, 1-1 again. Juventus with another unconvincing performance, and when we didn't say that about them, I mean, it has been an up and down season, an unconvincing season overall for them. You cannot really say that. They didn't found their groove, really. I mean, aside from Morata's beautiful feat of individual skill and brilliance, I mean, you need to watch the goal, by the way. It's tremendous. The whole goal is tremendous. The long pass from Cuadrado, then you have Morata's control of the ball and the way he just left-footed it into the top corner, way past the goalkeeper for Fiorentina, way past Rogovski. It is tremendous. I mean, it is, I think, the one piece of brilliance that Juve would hold on from this game, because elsewhere, the performance was middling. I mean, when Juventus go to Florenza and have much possession, but they have one shot on target, which is the goal, you know that there's something wrong with this side. And that is a side that has Cristiano Ronaldo in it. And this could be a really bad sign for Juve. They could lose their top 4. I mean, it's tight at the top, yes, but they could realistically lose that top 4 spot just by the odd margin, just by the slow margin of 1 point or 2 points maybe, or maybe by goal difference or head-to-head competition. Who knows what is going to be the metric. But for Juventus, it's not a bad time, to assess the situation at the moment. They need to focus, they need to calm themselves down, really. Looking at the lay of the land, it doesn't look that they are the champions. I mean, this doesn't look like a campaign where they're defending a title, because if you don't tell people that Juventus are champions, or people who don't know maybe that Juventus are champions, who switched off from Italian football since 2012 something, they cannot really believe that this is a campaign of a title defense for Juve. But it went really down the drain, and, the performances have been really middling. Andrea Pirlo still learning the trade, literally, really, at the early on of the season. He was, still taking courses in managing while taking charge of Juventus in the Champions League. And, speaking of that, Juve are part of the Super League. We should not forget that. They are part of the Super League, and you cannot sell a Super League when your team is not doing well in the league itself. At least if they were, for example, leading the table, running away with the Scudetto, as they usually did for the last 9 years, probably would be giving them a pass. We would saying, okay, they're a Super League side, the rightful one. They say Super League, justified, slightly, quote unquote, justified. But when you're not doing well in the league, when you're delivering middling performances, when you're not really convincing, when you have so many problems that you need to fix, the season's going to be over now in a couple of fixtures. They still have a trophy to lift potentially against Atalanta, although I don't fancy them in the cup final. I really think Atalanta should be winning a trophy. They're deserving of that. The season went down to the drain. And if they don't make it to the top four, that is, I think it will be Cristiano leaving, Dybala leaving, maybe Pirlo leaving, because the Juventus sporting director insisted that Pirlo is going to be the manager as long as they make it to the Champions League. Although I still believe they will, but there's that slight doubt that they wouldn't because of these kind of performances that they have at the moment, which is not exactly something surprising because the results are still there. Napoli could win today and they could go 66 points just behind Juve, just edging Juve in the top four, and goodness me, how tight that will be and how tight that top four battle would be. From Florence to Cagliari, where Cagliari defeated Roma 3-2. And, this is just another bad performance from Roma. This is just another bad game from the Romanian side. The Wolves of the capital are not exactly enjoying their football. Definitely the result that would not help them even in their quest for the last European spot. Maybe they would be, convinced that they would just not get in Europe. Their only hope to get into Europe is to actually win the Europa League, and that would get them into the Champions League. That would give Italy an extra place. But Napoli, with Napoli on top, Lazio, even Lazio were better than them. Roma at the moment are in such a slump of a result. Only one win in the last 5. You compare that really to Lazio, who won 4 of the last 5. You compare the Napoli, who won 3. Even Juventus, as middling as they are, they won 3 out of the last 5. Roma, a side that had too much momentum in the early goings of the season. We were talking about them as potential title contenders. We're now talking about them in the same way as we think of, as we talk about Sassuolo beneath them, Sampdoria, mid-table kind of side, really. And we shouldn't talk about them. They had a really great squad. We shouldn't be talking about them this way. But that's it. Performances, suggested otherwise. Roma losing 3-2, they were 3-1. Of course, the second goal from Federico Fazio was just a consolation, was just somewhat of a, save and face kind of thing. A loss that will not give them good hopes leading into the semi-final of the Europa League on Thursday against Manchester United, nonetheless. So, how much of a chance they have against them, I don't really know. I don't see them happening. I don't see them having too much of a chance anyway, if any, against Manchester United in the Europa League. And finishing off, of course, Atalanta completely thrashed Bologna 5-0. I mean, it wasn't like Atalanta were not doing good before the red card for Bologna, but the red card certainly eased things a little bit. They were 2-0 up by the first half. Atalanta, brilliant performance, by the way. And really, their form has been tremendous in the second part of the season. Although they were missing some lines in the first part of the season. We were saying maybe they will not make it in the top 4. Maybe the Atalanta sort of movement, the Atalanta wave, Atalanta bandwagon sort of faded away. But it certainly hasn't since the second part of the season for Atalanta. The side from Bergamo has been really, really on fire in the second half of the season. 3 losses and 1 draw in the last 12 games. They're picking up points quite well as of late, of course. As I mentioned just earlier, talking about Juventus, they still have a trophy to win. I would say I fancy them winning the Italian Cup. I really see them doing really, really well in that competition and defeating Juventus to win that trophy. They're deserving, I think, of a trophy. Over the course of the last 2 seasons, they improved. They shown so much character, personality, so much improvement, so much style that they really deserve to cap it off with a nice trophy. To add to their cabinet, really, which is pretty sparse in terms of trophy. Only 1 Coppa Italia. That was, I think, back in the 70s for Atalanta. Serie A action, of course, still continuing today with Torino versus Napoli and the big game of Lazio versus AC Milan, certainly two games that have implications for the top four spots, particularly Lazio versus AC Milan. Lazio, with a game in hand, they still have, of course, if they defeat AC Milan, and the form of AC Milan at the moment suggests that this could happen, Lazio could go with 61 points, and they could sneak into that top four battle, and with the game in hand, they will even have more chance to do so, which is going to be, crazy, really, for Lazio. Certainly Napoli still in the game as well. They could overleap Juventus, or, go joint with Juventus with 66 points, of course. It's amazing. The top four battle in Serie A is amazing. I think that's interesting as the race, or the title race, is in Laliga, if not even more enticing with how close things are in the Serie A at the moment. You have 68 for Atalanta at second, and Milan 66, Juve 66, Napoli with the potential to go 66 today as well. Lazio, if they win, they go, they close the gap as well. It's going to be tremendous end of the season as far as the top four is concerned in Serie A. Rounding up in the Premier League, and certainly the results, of course, some of the results in the Premier League, or a result in particular, was unbelievable, I would say, realistically speaking. Burnley went on to the Molineux and defeated Wolves 4-0. Yes, let that sink in, by the way. It happened. Yes, Burnley scored 4 goals in one match. That actually did happen. Burnley simply, Chris Wood was the man of the hour, really, scoring a hat-trick in the first half and given an assist for the 4th goal. Fantasy players rejuvenated, I think, around the world if they picked Chris Wood for this game. Whoever picked Chris Wood, and I'm sure they did, and I'm sure someone picked him as a triple captain maybe, they absolutely made gold out of him in this game. 3 goals and an assist. And surely the bonus, he wasn't subbed, so they get the full package there. Burnley, with this result, of course, defeating Wolves 4-0. They go up to 14th now on the table with 36 points. And I think they sort of avoid the relegation battle a little bit. They looked at certain point of the season that they were really down and out and maybe close to being relegated, but I think they avoided this kind of fate at the moment. Looking at the form of the other clubs around them, realistically speaking, it's going to be quite a busy season. They could end up having 40 plus points, which is possible, but for the moment they saved themselves from relegation, which is good to keep them for the another season in the Premier League. Leeds United forced Manchester United, another Super League side, to draw and to drop points again. They've been at it lately with the big 6 teams, Leeds, haven't they? They defeated Man City, they'd drawn against Liverpool, then they'd drawn against Man United. Those quote-unquote Super League sides have not had their best form as of late. Man City, I think, excluded, realistically speaking, because you could not really falter that form. You think they put their foot off the gas a little bit, just that. But as far as Man United are concerned, they need to still focus. They still have a Europa League to play, and they're not exactly in the safest of place. Their second spot could be lost. If they're going to be keeping going like this till the end of the season. Of course, the next week is going to be against Liverpool. Big game for them. Big game for Liverpool. I think Liverpool, who need that win in the next game to go top 4. It wasn't the greatest of performances from Man United, definitely. And again, maybe the idea was that we have a semi-final on Thursday, so we shouldn't be exhausting ourselves a lot. It was the usual performance that, it wasn't as exciting as the first leg, surely. The difference between 6-3 and 0-0 is absolutely stark, but Man United are the ones to blame here. They didn't go for it as much as we wanted to. They missed a couple of chances when they should have been clinical, and when they don't be clinical, you're going to be losing points. Fortunately for them, their second place is quite secure with a quite good gap that they won't be afraid of losing it. It's really like the Serie A of the last couple of seasons, where you have Juventus at the top, Napoli second, and then you have a big gap between the first and second, and then a big gap between the second and the rest of the table. That is, I think, what's happening at the moment. City are runaway leaders, runaway league winners, let's face it, with 77 points. You have United behind them, 67 points, and then you have Leicester with 59. This is really, As far as title races are concerned, the Premier League is not being given us the best of those as of late. I mean, I think since the 2016, 15-16 really, where Leicester were competing with Tottenham Hotspur for the title, remember that. We didn't have a great title race as of late. We didn't have a tremendous. I mean, Liverpool Man City one as of last season or the season before last season, 2018-19 was tremendous. But certainly not a lot of those for the last 5 or 6 years or so. Man City, who's been winning 3 out of the last 5, have been really, sort of settling the deal and finishing off things before things finished off in the title, and that's what things are going to be looking for this season. Of course, Premier League action is going to be continuing. Aston Villa drawn against West Brom 2-1, salvaged the draw, that is, as of late, of course, with the late goal coming in from Davis in the 92nd minute to equalise after West Brom were leading for most of the game, and they were the more dangerous side, to be fair, for the most part of the second half. I mean, they almost grabbed a big result out of the Villa Park, winning 2-1, but it wasn't to be. They don't have much chance really in saving themselves from relegation, so, it's pretty bleak picture for Sam Allardyce's side at the moment. The Premier League action still continues on Monday with Leicester City we're hosting Crystal Palace, of course. Leicester City, who are on a good course really to finish season third and be in the Champions League next season. Speaking of the Champions League, of course, expect us tomorrow to preview the action. Of course, we're previewing both games between Real Madrid, Chelsea and PSG, Man City, and certainly we're going to be delving into a little bit more details about those four teams in the episode. That's it from me for this episode. I was your boy, the HOD of the PSP. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version of this podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, enable notifications to receive all the updates from these episodes and all the content on the channel. Follow us on social media, outside PSP on Twitter, PitchSetPod on Instagram. Listen on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform. And until tomorrow's episode, I'll be seeing you soon.